When it comes to the climate, this summer is already breaking records. And suddenly, living in a Europe where it's 50 degrees outside doesn't seem so futuristic. We look at how cities can prepare for this new normal. Welcome to ARTE Europe Weekly. Charon, Cerberus. Temperatures are getting pretty hellish in southern Europe right now, so there's no wonder that our heat waves are being named after characters from the underworld. NASA says that July will likely be the planet's hottest month in hundreds, if not thousands, of years. Let's take a look at just how hot things are getting across the continent.
The sun is scorching the south of France. Getting wet is one way to handle the heat. Soaring up to 38 degrees, temperatures here are 11 degrees above the seasonal average. In the mountains too, the heat is stifling, setting all-time high-altitude records of more than 30 degrees. This construction worker would probably have liked the day off due to the sweltering heat, but in sectors like his, that's not going to happen.
There's really no choice but to work and battle the heatwave.
In Italy too, work goes on for some. But with one road worker dying a heat-related death in Italy last week, and those who work outdoors voicing their concerns about the danger to their health, maybe it shouldn't. Last summer's heat waves caused more than 60,000 deaths across Europe. This year, hospitals seem better prepared, although the unbearable temperatures are just as relentless.
The high level of humidity, which is typical of the Taranto area, puts heat stress on some patients.
It was in Sicily in 2021 that European records were shattered, with temperatures hitting 48.8 degrees. A day for escaping to the beach, perhaps, rather than being dressed to the nines. In Spain, things are no better. Even the waters are unusually warm. The Mediterranean is at 30 degrees in places, and air temperatures are edging up to 45 in the north and east of the country. The whole western Mediterranean basin is suffocating under a dome of extremely hot air. And wherever you go, it's the same story.
Heat, humidity, always sweating.
In Greece, tourists will need to have patience as well as sunscreen. For now, all archaeological sites will be closed during the hottest hours of the day, with temperatures reaching 45 degrees. And on the island of Rhodes and to the west of Athens, the situation is even worse. Wildfires have ravaged more than 1,700 square kilometres. Firefighters from across Europe have joined the efforts to contain them, but meteorologists warn this could be just the beginning, as Greece braces itself for a new wave of intense heat.
Europe's wildfire season is starting earlier and lasting longer. Last year, more than 830,000 hectares of land were destroyed by fires. With these high temperatures, Greece in particular has become a tinderbox. ARTE reporters went to Varonas, a suburb southeast of Athens, to see volunteer firefighters at work.
Every morning, Stefanos Servas goes to work at his bakery. But for the past 8 years, during fire season, he has a second job, albeit one that's not paid. He's a volunteer firefighter. The only guaranteed downtime for this 32-year-old is his morning coffee with his father, during which he explains that for him, getting involved wasn't a choice.
Because of the economic crisis here in Greece, which supposedly is over now, there are no new hires. Our firefighters are old, on average 45 years old. That's old. So, unfortunately, we need to help out.
Faced with understaffing and lack of resources, 4,000 volunteers support Greece's 14,168 regular firefighters. In Varonas, Stefanos trades his baker's clothes for a fire brigade team leader's uniform to train new recruits every day.
Here, we train volunteers to put out forest fires. Our ribbon represents the fire's perimeter. The vehicles and the teams have to cordon off the perimeter. Everything on the inside of the ribbon is already burning, so we'll tackle that later. Our mission is above all to prevent the fire from spreading so that we can put it out. Varonas 1, Varonas 2, here we go.
In the face of rapid climate change, Greece has been one of the European countries hardest hit by wildfires. 5 years ago, one such fire near the capital killed 102 people and traumatized the country. Since then, more and more people have volunteered to take action. Each season, the fires that ravage the Athens region spur new recruits to sign up, like Katerina Gagli, a computer science student.
I started in August of 2021 during the big fires. I was fed up of seeing the same thing on the TV each year, and so I thought if I can do something, I should. I started with forest protection activities, mostly surveillance, and then I started fighting fires.
The Viranas volunteers are ready for duty once again, and they all highlight the same problem, the lack of effective prevention of these fires in Greece. Forests should be cleared of undergrowth, roads unobstructed. For them, it's obvious. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Now to a city more known for having skies the same colour as its iconic grey roofs. Ella Fitzgerald may love Paris when it sizzles, but for Parisians, it might start getting a bit too hot to bear. According to a recent study in The Lancet, heat waves claim more lives in Paris than in any other European city. The second deadliest city is Amsterdam, followed by Zagreb. Here's a look in detail at how some of Europe's capitals compare.
Rome, Madrid, Athens. Cities across southern Europe have been suffering record temperatures this year, but a baking hot summer is becoming the norm across the continent, although it's not just geography that can affect the temperature in a city. And while Paris has been spared record high so far, it is one of the cities worst equipped to deal with rising temperatures. 80% of the city is concrete, and it's one of the most densely populated in the world. The phenomenon of urban heat islands sees several factors combine to create a dome of hot air over a city. Things like intense human activity, lots of traffic, industrial activity, and ground that is largely covered in concrete.
The temperature of the asphalt is between 56 and 58 degrees, and because it's a material that will accumulate a maximum of heat, we can end up having local temperatures that feel higher than those in the middle of the Sahara.
One way to lower the temperature and therefore avoid rising heat-related deaths is to make cities greener. Here's the proof.
We can see immediately what happens as soon as we plant some trees. To be more precise, as soon as we plant a group of trees, because if we plant just one, the poor thing won't be able to do much. But when we line up trees with dense shade, it immediately becomes more breathable.
The French capital has pledged to plant 170,000 more trees by 2026 to add to the 500,000 already found in the city. The success of this tactic can be seen in London. With its 2 million trees and 22 square kilometres of parks and gardens, the UK capital is one of Europe's greenest cities. But the greenest of all is Oslo. 74% of its surface is green space. Hot on the Norwegian's capital's heels are Berlin and Vienna, where the emphasis is being shifted to the natural environment. But in Madrid, green is clearly not the favourite colour of the regional government, which is planning to cut down 1,000 trees to build a new metro line. A decision that has many locals up in arms.
It's exactly the opposite of what the rest of the world is doing. They're making the city more artificial, more asphalt, more cement, more paving stones.
As temperatures continue to rise, giving more space to plant life will be a priority for more and more big cities. The alternative is contemplating the end of the world at a pavement cafe where the pavement is 58 degrees.
We need to start adapting our towns to these temperatures and fast. Case in point, in the past few days, hospitals across Italy have seen a 25% increase in people coming in for heat-related illnesses. Rome has become the infernal city, scorching under temperatures as high as 41.8 degrees Celsius. Our reporters went there to find out what's being done to help protect people from the heat.
The ambience is one of a holiday camp. Rome is helping its most vulnerable elderly residents to escape the heatwave and the isolation it can cause by taking them on trips to the seaside, all for free, meals and deck chairs included.
It's good. It was needed. There are so many people alone at home with no way of getting about. We're not young anymore. More and more elderly people have been abandoned.
For those who have to work through the heatwave, the situation is more complicated. The city's bin men work all day long to battle Rome's enormous volumes of rubbish. On building sites, the 35-degree rule allows companies to send workers home once that temperature is reached, with the hours not worked paid by the state. After the death of a road worker in Italy due to the heat, the authorities are taking the issue very seriously indeed.
We have to stop working during the hottest hours. We can't go on like this. The other day it was 42 degrees. We drink lots of water and we keep to the shade when we can.
We are strongly appealing to companies to waive deadlines for public and private construction sites at the moment. Even if we fall behind schedule, we must protect the lives of our workers and avoid exposing them to the heat during the most dangerous hours of the day.
Tourists too are living with the heatwave, albeit temporarily, and making use of the Italian capital's long-established 3,500 freshwater fountains. Roman authorities are now combining tradition with technology, releasing an app that shows their location.
So it's really hot in those fountains, especially they drink a lot, so it's really a saver. It's difficult, yeah. Only the tourists walk around. I don't think anybody who does not need to walk will walk.
For the leader of Rome's 8th district, while short-term measures are helpful, the city needs to look further ahead.
We are working to transform the city by tackling the different hotspots. We need to imagine another model of urbanisation, dismantling what we can, getting rid of cement, planting trees. But while we're waiting for all these transformations to happen, we need to protect our most vulnerable citizens, like you saw with the services such as offering elderly people the opportunity to relax in a safer environment, like by the seaside.
In Ostia, on the coast, the day went by all too fast. By 4:30 p.m, the bus to take these Romans back home was waiting. Renato just needs to finish his crossword puzzle first.
More water fountains and beach days are important, but more structural changes need to be made if Europe's cities are going to be habitable in the future. The problem is many European cities were built for a different climate. Redesigning urban space could be the key. We spoke to Christian Kind, an expert on adapting cities to climate change, to ask him what needs to be done.
Hallo, Herr Kind.
Hallo.
Many cities in Europe today look like concrete jungles and don't appear at all ready to deal with rising temperatures. What immediate action can local councils take to change this?
Well, there are quite a few immediate measures that authorities can take. These could be leveraging the albedo effect to reduce heat reflection from surfaces, painting roads, changing roof colours, setting up shade sails, and providing shade with trees in movable plant pots. And we've also consistently had calls for cooling rooms to be set up.
Of course, short-term solutions are essential, but long-term city planning will also have to change. How do you see the city of the future?
To deal with heat in cities, it's important to have enough ventilation. You need cold air ventilation corridors, where the air from the city outskirts, that cools down better at night, can enter the city. At the scale of a district or a specific building, the way to go is urban greening. Trees not only provide shade, but also help evaporative cooling. And you can also consider roof greening and facade greening.
Of course, it takes time to make changes in very large urban areas. How long do you think it will take for cities to be fit for the climate crisis?
For cities with a lot of open spaces, it shouldn't take too many years. But for cities with a medieval city centre and a lot of protected monuments, then there could be some hurdles. The city of Venice comes to mind, where I think they've been building a flood protection wall for the last 20 years and have spent more than €6 billion.
Is there a positive example, a city in Europe or elsewhere in the world, where we can already say they're well prepared for the climate crisis and global warming?
Well, you can take a look at the Arab world, where innovative architectural techniques such as building ventilation and small towers have been used for a long time to deal with heat. Here in Europe, one city that has implemented a lot of adaptations is Vienna. I believe the city is making around 100 million euros available for individual districts till 2025, so they can implement greening measures and other heat protection strategies. It's a shining example of what can be done.
Thank you for speaking with us.
You're very welcome.
So what could our cities look like in the future? Artists and architects have dreamed up fantastic cityscapes. Here's what some of them have imagined. So tell us what it's like where you live. Have you noticed differences because of climate change? And what are you doing to adapt? Keep cool, stay hydrated, and we'll see you next week.